This is our third stop today. We were in Cedar Key this morning, and then we just got back from Horseshoe Beach, and now here in Steinhatchee, surveying the damage, talking to some of the local folks about what they need to be able to get back on their feet. I'm seeing a lot of damage, and I'm also seeing a lot of resiliency. You know, it's tough when you go in. We were just in Horseshoe Beach. You have an old First Baptist church there, and had 4.5 feet of water, so the place is basically ruined. People losing homes, losing businesses. Really a lot of work that needs to be done. So we're, state of Florida is going to be there to help out, get people back on their feet. We have been doing a lot with respect to the initial response. Fortunately, we have not had the same type of loss of life that we've had with something like a Hurricane Ian. So far there's been one confirmed fatality, and that was a traffic fatality in Alachua County. So in terms of this big storm surge that we've seen, and you see the remnants of it here with the water line, we have not yet had a confirmed fatality as a result of it. I think part of that is because people really made good decisions, protected themselves. Also, this forecast turned out to be accurate. It had been eyeing the Big Bend many days ago, and that's what ended up happening. So I think people, particularly in this area, who were in the way of a potential significant storm surge, they did take the proper precautions. We're also working hard to assist with power restoration. As of today, as of most recent numbers, 135,000 outages remain across the state. There have been 430,000 restorations since the storm first arrived in Florida yesterday. So it's been a lot of great work with these linemen and the companies really putting an effort on rapid power restoration. As you'd expect, most of the outstanding power outages are in these Big Bend counties, mostly the rural counties. So you've got a lot of rural electrical co-ops. You do have Duke Energy is involved in some of these counties. I think everyone's working together. All those linemen are still here to be able to provide mutual aid so that we can get the lights on as quickly as possible. We are going to be requesting, because we understand, particularly in this area, fishing is very important. We are going to request from the U.S. Secretary of Commerce a federal fisheries disaster to be able to help our fisheries rebuild. This is an important part of the economy here. This has obviously been interrupted, and it is going to be a blow to a lot of folks who are involved in that industry. We did not get that after Hurricane Ian, but we think it's clearly warranted in this situation. We're continuing to make sure that the roads are clear. FDOT's done a great job with that. I mean, the fact that Cedar Key Bridge was cleared within 12 hours of the landfall shows that they were on the ball with all that. So we're appreciative of all those efforts, as well as all the first responders that have been doing a lot of important stuff. We've mentioned the schools. You're going to have most of the schools are going to be open by tomorrow. Clearly, the Big Bend area, they got to get the power on. They got to get other stuff. So I know they're working with Secretary Diaz to figure out when they can do that. We all want that to be done as soon as possible. We are going to be helping people with this Florida Disaster Fund, and I'm going to have the First Lady say a few words about that. But these are situations where some of these communities are relatively small. There's going to be discrete needs, and having something like the Florida Disaster Fund gives us the ability to be able to meet needs that a government bureaucracy may not be able to meet. And there's certain things that the federal government can do. There's certain things they won't do. There's certain things state may be able to do. There's certain things state has not been authorized to do. So having this is very important, and that's floridadisasterfund.org if you want to help. I know there have been millions of dollars raised already. A lot of these folks are going to need some help, particularly in these next weeks and months, and we want to be there to be able to do that. So I'm going to let the First Lady come up and say a few words about that.
No, I'm happy and I'm honored to be able to work with the private sector to be able to free up these resources to help folks in need. And there were some tears earlier from folks who have lost everything. They had the water come into their home. They're not sure where to turn. And so that's where the Florida Disaster Fund comes in. One of the things we are working with, we're very appreciative of, is the FEMA director working with Kevin Guthrie to be able to work with the IRS to get a special tax status, so that way we can get the funds directly to individuals. We raised $63 million with Hurricane Ian. We were able to deploy all of those resources and utilize those to work with nonprofits on the ground. But what we're working on this time is to be able to use the Department of Emergency Management to be able to get those funds into an entity to go right directly to the individuals and the homeowners, and that will be a game changer to cut through the red tape. So FloridaDisasterFund.org, anything you can do to help out good folks in need, we greatly appreciate it. God bless.
Okay.